Um, First, I want to thank everybody for joining on Saturday, as Prerna said, because that means you're taking time from your weekend to actually discuss design, which makes me very excited. My name. My name is Svetlin Petrov. I'm originally from Bulgaria, but I spent considerable time of my career as an architect in Japan, and currently I'm living in Indonesia. Why design thinking today? Well, I imagine architecture is just one part of designing things for humans, and I've been fascinated by making things from very early age. Ever since I was a kid, I really liked exploring and making, because my grandparents were people who were making things, a carpenter and a seamstress. And that really led me to pursue architecture. I've been actively involved as an architect in the field for 15 years now. First, as an assistant architect during my education in Bulgaria, then as an architect, I worked as a 3D artist. And since 2013, I pursued postgraduate and graduate studies, and my career as an architect in Tokyo. So in the beginning, I was thinking of design more as a egocentric project, like you make stuff and then you put them into the world and people are like, oh, you're such a good designer, great. And but later, as I practiced more, I realized that it's very interesting to think about the user and how the user impacts design and design impacts the user. So today I'm really excited to talk about this with you. But enough about myself. Let's not waste any more time. What about today's workshop? So firstly, I can hear myself, I think. Maybe, okay. So firstly, let's break the ice a bit and have a bit of maybe self-introduction, and perhaps just a few words so we can kind of get to know each other. And then I will give a short talk just to introduce you to the concepts of design thinking and how they relate to our life. And then in the last part of our workshop, which would be an hour, so half of the workshop would be kind of an exercise work, where we together could kind of try to implement the concepts of design thinking into actual practice. We can design together and see how this actually works out. So I think we are now around 14 people. May I ask you guys to just very quickly introduce yourselves, maybe say your names and what is your background?
And also, what city are you joining us from?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, and I will. It'll be great if you can turn on your camera for at least for the introduction part. Just for
yeah, that'll be great.
So why don't we start with, I'm going to pick Shefali.
Yes, just like pick a victim.
Shefali, go ahead, please.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Shefali, and basically I am a designer, and I am a lecturer in a college. Teaching is my profession, and today I'm attending this workshop because I am having interest in design thinking, and this is my subject too. Thank you.
Oh, wow, that was very intimidating. Maybe we should switch. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, who's next? Oh, Prerna, you're mute.
Oh, sorry. Who would like to go next? We have Rajendra in our group. Rajendra, do you want to go next?
Yeah, hi. My name is Rajendra. I'm joining from Pune.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice. I'm from. I belong to IT background. I like to this workshop to just to explore this design step because I have a kid, so I like to play with her. So that's why I want to know about this stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
so that is why I
great.
joined this.
Thank you very much. Great. Yes, who's next?
We have Robo. Why don't you speak up? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shivangi. I can't rename myself for some reason. I mean, the host hasn't enabled that. So actually, I am working with a lot of kids and teaching coding, and I have been teaching robotics for quite some time. So design thinking has been a field that is, an area which has made me curious. And since then, I have been trying to learn about it. And I thought to join you guys today.
Oh, thank you very much. Great.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can exchange knowledge.
Hello, I would like to go next.
Hello.
This is Sarah here, and I am also not able to change my name for some reason. And right now I'm attending this meeting from Bellai, and I'm an IT engineer by profession. I'm looking forward to learning more about design thinking today.
Great. Great. Thank you. Hopefully we can really teach something.
Hi, can I go next?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, my name is Tanishka. I am a student of physics. I am an amateur artist. Yeah, I just wanted to learn more about a creative way of thinking. So I'm here.
Great. Thank you.
I'm joining from Bangalore.
Thank you. Prerna, you're in mute again.
Okay. I'm saying Suraj or Surendra wants to go next, I think. Surendra, do you want to go next? Surendra cannot hear you, but
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I am Surendra Chavan. I am from Mumbai. I
Mhm.
recently joined the field of UI UX designing,
Mhm.
and looking forward to learn more about design thinking.
Oh, great. UX is very much related to design thinking. Thanks.
Thank you.
Najiha, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, Svetlin.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. This is Najia. I'm Singaporean, but I'm currently based in Germany. I'm an architect, and currently I'm also a fluid artist, and I have just launched my website today, like a few minutes
Great.
ago. It's
Please
like
make sure to put it in the chat.
Yes, I will. It's a big day for me. Yeah.
Great. Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. If there is anyone else who wants to go ahead with the introduction, else we can start the session.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an interactive session anyway. So most likely everyone will get a chance to speak up or participate.
Yeah, I was just going to say that later anyway, we're going to talk more, so don't need to worry about it now. One more thing before I start. I just wanted to ask you guys a question. One person or two people is enough if you're not feeling like answering. I wanted to ask you, do you use streaming services? Do you watch movies on Netflix or Hulu or whatever?
Yes, we watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you use? Do you use what kind of streaming service do you use?
I use Netflix, Hotstar.
And why do you choose to use Netflix to watch movies?
Just to get relax some part of time. We have work stations just to relax, and that's the reason I watch for 50 half an hour.
So it's kind of a free time, pastime activity, right?
Yeah, right.
And do you mind me asking, how do you choose your movies? Do you search for them, or do you just like let Netflix tell you like what are the new suggestions and you just choose them?
I choose by animation or like action movie stuff, short. So this
So you have like genres that you like, and that's how you search.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you find streaming convenient?
Yeah, sometimes not.
Yeah, so it depends on the app's interface, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Thank you for this answer. I just exploited you for a segue for the talk, actually, because I was thinking really how design relates to our everyday. And when you start thinking about it, you realize how actually everything is related. Design affects everything that we do. And in the example, for instance, of you watching Netflix for a pastime, in a way, this opportunity that Netflix exists and allows you to watch your favorite movies on the platform, in a way also defines your pastime. So as you're saying, sometimes it's very convenient to use it, sometimes not so much. And if you think about it, this in a way already kind of affects your behavior during the time that you're using this product. So the design of Netflix in some way actually maybe in a small way affects your behavior and your time engaging with this app. And that's why I was wondering what to call today's talk, and I stopped at why we all should think like designers. Because when you start thinking that things actually affect your experience on a minute basis when you're using them, maybe if you understand their design better, you would be able to make more informed decisions. And let me just share my slides. Wait, so, no. Just a second, share screen, okay. And please let me know if you are seeing my slides. Is it visible?
Yes. Okay. So as I said, today's workshop is going to be broken into two main parts. First is the theoretical part, which I'm going to try not to make not so boring. And then the second one, which is the main chunk of the workshop, the last 1 hour, is the practical part. So the theoretical part is broken into three main sections, which are supposed to, in a way, introduce you to the concepts of design and design thinking. As we see, there's lots of design colleagues here, so maybe they already know part of the things, but hopefully you can introduce something new. And to start, we need to first understand what design is, or to like rethink what design is. Design, we refer often as a noun, as things that we use, but this design also is a verb too. So design is the activity and also the product of this activity. So design is a process and a product. And if I have to synthesize it, I think design is addressing human needs. So it's a process of addressing the needs. And since human needs are very diverse, they could be for shelter, safety, comfort, enjoyment, beauty, even democracy. Design is a very broad term. So if we can have architecture, product design, graphic design, even like lawmaking, like lawmakers have to design a law for the people so they can feel safe or to prosper. So lawmakers are also designers in a way. And since human needs are so complex, design also needs to be a creative, analytical, and an artistic problem-solving process. It's not just about the technical stuff. It's not just about how pretty things are. It's a very comprehensive field. And that's important because design is not looks. Design is not appearance. But often we are equating design as appearance. So why does this happen? Well, in my opinion, it's for two reasons, two concepts that emerged during the 20th century. One is styling, the other one is planned obsolescence. So because of those two things, designers became to be associated more as decorators rather than as problem solvers or providers for the needs of people. This roughly started in the beginning of the 20th century, where the General Motors Corporation introduced the idea of styling. They realized that if they create very attractive vehicles which are going to appeal to consumers, and they're going to buy it for their appearance, they could increase their profits. And not only that they can do that every year, creating trends in order for people to buy the new car and dispose of the old ones. So they exploited the idea of that people like beautiful things, and also that people don't like to miss out. So they always want to be in the loop. And this thing, it didn't create planned obsolescence. It didn't create the idea that products have to have a life cycle and then they can be thrown so you can buy new ones, but really reinforced it. And together, styling and planned obsolescence actually led to increased consumption, which increased the profit of companies. That means companies had very big investment to continue this way of designing, so they can continue to increase their profits, which actually put pressure on designers to move from problem solvers, which they were before, to more fashion makers. And that makes a little sense, because when you are a designer out of school and then you want to apply to the General Motors Corporation, they're going to tell you you're going to work on looks, so that then later when they sell to the people, they can say this is the new design. And slowly people started equating designers with decorators. And this continues until this day. It's a very, very, very well working tactic. And we know this very ubiquitous company, Apple, has been doing this with their iPhone ever since it came out. Every year we have a new product, which is almost the same as the previous one, but because we don't want to miss out and we don't want to, and we want to have the new nice thing, we still buy it. But don't worry, iPhone is just an example and it's not all bad. Actually, iPhone is a great example how design is an activity and a product. iPhone is actually a very good design product. It's also very beautiful. This doesn't conflict with the policy of the company. It is an example of how people sat down, a talented team sat down and thought about how people would communicate, what people need to communicate. They made an intuitive product, they packaged it nicely, and they were able to sell it. And if you understand what design is, I'm sorry, it's suddenly the weather changed. If you understand what design is, then what is design thinking? I always found this term kind of strange. Well, the way I understand it is design is what we do to address needs, while design thinking is the how we go about it. And the very important thing is that design is a human-centered process. As we saw, we can be also profit-centered or company-centered, as in the example of styling. But with a human-centered process, we focus on the user's needs. That is what dictates the design. That is the starting point. And that differentiates it from different approaches to design. And the second important trait of design thinking is design thinking tries to find the right problem to solve. Because sometimes we are given the problem by client or by the circumstances, but this often is not the underlying core issue. And often it's worse to solve a problem that is irrelevant to the user than not to solve the problem at all. So to illustrate that, imagine the scenario where, say, you have a really nice new rural school, but attendance is low. And someone contacts you and says, you have to buy the best buses so we can ship the kids to the school because their villages are far and they cannot go to school. And we think that this is preventing them from going to school. Here is like, I don't know, $100,000. And you can buy the buses and see what happens, but you can also investigate further. And imagine you investigate further and you realize that actually kids are not attending school because they have, for instance, younger siblings that they have to take care of. and they cannot spare the time to go to school. So what you actually can do then is to use this $100,000 to maybe create a daycare service in their village, and then unload the burden from them, buy cheaper buses and bring them to school. So the buses are not really the original problem. The problem is that the kids don't have time. So that is what design thinking tries to do. Design thinking has 5 steps how it tries to approach problems. First is the empathy stage. This is a research stage, but actually also it's supposed to make the designer put themselves in the shoes of the user and really try to observe and understand their needs. After that, we try to define the problem. We really analyze and synthesize those observations so we can state the proper problem. Then when we have the problem, we start to brainstorm, or as they call it, ideation. That is where you're making many different ideas and try to create unconventional solutions so you can see what works best. And when you have an idea, then you try to put it out into the world in a lab setting or in a limited way through prototyping. Maybe you make like a model or something, or like a small clay sculpture, see how it works in a limited laboratory, for instance, environment. And if you're convinced that it has potential, you go to the last phase when you're testing. Then you're creating an actual product, distributing it, putting it into the world, and then you monitor. You see what works, what people complain about, what works, what doesn't. And then when you see this information, you do the whole 5 steps again, because design is an iteration. That's why some products need many, many months and years to be produced, to be completed, because you need to always refine, always refine. That is why design thinking is an interesting concept to apply to many other fields, such as politics, because you create a law, you put it, you see how it works, you bring it back, you see how it works, and so on and so on. So iteration is the key word when you're talking about design. Sorry. So when we know what design is supposed to be doing and where we should center it, then how does design affect us? And that is actually, I think, really the core of today's conversation. How can we become more aware of the impact design has on our lives? I really think that your everyday is kind of a combination of many experiences. And I like this metaphor that life is kind of a movie, and the designers are the directors because they're the ones that put the props in your life. And one of the design thinking gurus who has really furthered the field, Don Norman, seems to agree with this idea, because he says that no product is an island, and he considers that products are more than products. They're actually experiences. They are good or bad experiences. Coincidentally, Don Norman was one of the user experience architects of Apple in the past. So maybe that's why they have such good products. And he thinks of design experiences in 3 levels. First one is the visceral level. That is how things look. And he argues that things that are beautiful work better. And I can kind of agree with that, because the laptop that you're seeing there is my laptop. I'm just using it now to talk to you. And when I was buying a laptop, I could have bought a slightly cheaper laptop that would have done the same exact job, but I just really like the design. This is what I liked. And so I was convinced that by paying more, I would be happier. Maybe I just convinced myself because that's how humans are. But in a way, every time when I see my main tool of work, I feel energized, because it kind of, on a visceral level, on a very primal level, speaks to me. And I was very curious, why does that happen? Why am I just like a mindless consumer that was tricked by a company? But according to cognitive science, beautiful things make us happy, to oversimplify grossly. And a happy brain is a productive brain. So we are more likely to think out of the box. We are more likely to entertain new concepts. So when you're using something that makes you happy on a visual level, you are most probably slightly more prone to creative thinking and to productivity. But what about usability? The product that you're seeing there is another tool that I use every day. It's a $10 fountain pen from a Japanese company. And why I love it so much is because when I'm writing, and as an architect, I have to do that quite a lot, it feels like as if I'm not holding anything. It's just perfectly balanced for my hand. The ink flows properly. I feel free to just create. And that is what also cognitive science asserts for good design. When on a behavioral level, as they call it, when things are usable, when you're able to feel in control of the tools that you're using, you are happy. Thus, you become more productive. And another point is that when things are intuitive, when they don't make you think how you're going to use them, then you feel happy too, because we get small like jolts of dopamine in our brains when we figure out stuff. And what you're seeing here is my old Xbox 360 controller that I like so much because it really works for me. I find it super intuitive, and when I'm playing, when I'm enjoying, I don't need to think about anything. So it makes me happy because it just works. But the visceral and the behavioral level of us engaging with design are subconscious. You don't think how things work. We just are happy or unhappy, or we don't think if things are ugly or beautiful. We just react to them. But actually, after we use design, we also reflect on it. We think about what made us happy, what made us angry, and we actually add memories to those experiences. If the memories are good, that means that we had good experiences. And if you go back to the laptop idea, well, I associate my laptop with good work because it makes me happy when I'm using it. So I'm actually looking forward to use it again, which makes me like it more and creates a cycle. So in a way, it's important what kind of memory products create after we have used them. But there is another way we reflect on things. When we think about what do they mean to us and to other people. For instance, if you buy a very expensive Rolex watch, you know that someone is going to see you on the street and go and say, oh, this person has money, or this person has power. That is the power of meaning. Things have meaning outside of their function. And let's go back to the pen again. I enjoy this pen because in my own small way, when I go to a meeting with a client, they bring out all kinds of pens and ballpoint pens and whatever. And I'm the only person that brings out this cheap but interesting fountain pen. And in my small way, I assert saying, see, I'm an artistic guy. So you should trust me, and you're going to make really nice stuff. Or at least that's how I imagine it works. But you know, all architects have fountain pens, so I guess maybe it's like that. Or at least the meaning is this. So in another way, it makes me happy because I feel, in a way, more an architect because I'm using what architects use. It sounds silly, but actually, if you think about it, many of our products are like that. You buy a Gucci bag and you want to show it's a Gucci. You're never going to hide the logo. And Don Norman says that if we actually design with those things in mind and they overlap, that would bring a delightful product. Delightful meaning it's pleasurable. It would create good memories. It would be easy to use, and you would be happy when we see it. Thus, in a small way, making us happy. A pen can make you happy while using it without you even realizing it. And if you think about that, we are interacting with all kinds of designs, pens, phones, notebooks, whatever, all day, every day, all year, those things maybe accumulate. So actually, if our products make us happy, that means if our products make us miserable, that means we'll be miserable. And if you want just to synthesize this whole concept into one sentence and like some sort of mantra, and formula how to choose your products, William Morris said it best: have nothing in your houses you don't know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. And I think it's a really simple, but often hard to implement idea, because we rarely think about the stuff that we buy in all those three levels. And maybe if you think more, we'll be happier. But of course, what if our houses and possessions are not always beautiful or useful? Then, of course, we would have some negative interactions with those designs, meaning we would have negative experiences in our day. And what happens if designs are not meant to serve humans, if they're not human-centric and they're meant for some other purpose, but they're packaged for our needs? Well, then we get some stuff like this one. This is a very famous example where bad design is simply annoying. These doors are called Norman doors after Don Norman, who really whined a lot about them in a book of his. And the problem is that they tell you what to do with a sign, but their design tells you something else. If there is a handle on a door, your intuitive brain thinks we should pull this door, but the door tells you push. So this is kind of a micro contradiction that in a way frustrates you without you even knowing it. And imagine how many times you're actually encountering such design. They could be doors, they could be batteries that you have to think which way to plug, they could be USB drives, all things that are not intuitive. So good design is intuitive. If you want to design a door, you put a handle on the side you want to pull, and then you're going to put a plate on the side you want to push. So the design is going to tell you what to do, and your brain is going to do it automatically without you thinking and getting frustrated. But let's do something super extreme then. Bad design can be annoying, but can actually have huge consequences. Like, for instance, it can impede democracy. And an interesting example about this is a 2001 presidential election in the US. This ballot is reported to have swung the election in the wrong direction, because the marker where you have to vote for the presidential candidate is put in the wrong place. This marker belongs to the Democratic candidate, but it's put in front of the name of the Republican candidate. So what happened is that Democratic voters who were Jewish actually voted for an anti-Semitic candidate. And that some people actually report that might have changed the whole outcome of the election. This could have been avoided if you just put the holes on the other side. It's that simple, but the brain doesn't care, because the brain works on intuition. It doesn't care that it doesn't need to count the holes. So when you make design hard, it's not only annoying, it can be dangerous. And when you're talking about danger, bad design can actually kill you. And that's kind of extreme, I know. But you've seen that, right? This is the airplane evacuation cards. And every time you go into a plane, they tell you read those cards, and you never read them. I also don't read them. But turns out they're pretty important, because studies show an accident. How do we know that, though? Because the original cards were really bad. That is an original 1950s card, I think, where they explain to you how to evacuate, but no one's going to read this text. you're gonna smoke a cigar or something in the plane. And so people realized that because people don't read, they don't know how to evacuate. But of course, you shouldn't make people read. And what people realized, researchers realized, is that if you make it fun for people, intuitive, and with as least text as possible, people are more likely to remember how to evacuate. And there is no wonder that those cards are actually made beautiful, because they want to engage you. Your aesthetic brain is looking for beautiful stuff to entertain itself with. So those are 3 examples, quite extreme and desperate, for product design. But what about architecture? And since I'm an architect, I'm really concerned how the built environment affects us. And I think it's pretty profound, because although we live in the built environment, we don't realize how it affects us because it's just around us. We don't see it. And for instance, the famous architect Louis Kahn once said, a bit of a long quote, but we all know that we can bathe just as well in 8-foot ceilings, but we can then under 150-foot ceilings. But there is something about the 150-foot ceiling that makes a man a different man. And that's a very pretentious quote from an architect. Like you hear that from architects all the time. And sometimes you're thinking, this is just armchair philosophy, and that doesn't convince anybody. But interestingly, cognitive science showed much later that he might have been right, because low ceilings were correlated with low creativity. And in a way, when you're in an environment that literally oppresses you, your mind is also oppressed and constrained, which is very, very interesting. It's not only a metaphor, you're literally constrained. Or bad architecture can make us actually sick. And studies are starting to show that monotonous architecture, where there is absence of nature, makes us bored. The reason why is because we evolved in very rich natural environments with a lot of detail and a lot of things that occupy our brains. And when we are put in those boring, what they call them, grayscapes, we get bored. And actually, this boredom makes us stressed. And when this makes us stressed, we have higher, our heart rates are elevated, which leads to a prolonged exposure, could lead to risk of heart disease. Also, it impairs our cognitive function. We are less productive, and it makes we are at more risk of mental illness. So actually, boring environments are more than just boring. When we are designing for people, it's important to think not only what is efficient, but also how people think and how people perceive the surroundings. And finally, I think bad architecture doesn't need to be ugly, but if not thought of well, can make us even lonely, or even worse, more apathetic citizens. I have this kind of love-hate relationship with tall buildings. I live in a skyscraper myself. And I've been thinking a lot. When you see those pictures of soon-to-be built towers, you see always the same thing. They render the tower very clear and nice and beautiful, and everything around is gray and like foggy. The reason is they want to show their project, of course. But I find kind of an interesting and ironic correlation with real life. I think that the higher you live, the farther you are from the city. The farther you are from the city, the farther you are from the city's problems. In a way, you're really perceiving the city like a foggy, abstract thing. And so you start caring less if your community is well, if your streets are nice, if your city is safe. In a way, it creates a more introverted people. And on a personal level, if we want to be a bit more selfish and just think about our health, we get lonely because we are far from the community. The community is where the streets are, where people talk, where people are noisy. When we cannot hear human voices, when we're not forced into interaction, we just become lonely, which also makes us sick in a way. So then, what is the takeaway? Right? Those examples are so different, and some of them very striking, some of them seem harmless. What's the conclusion? Well, I think there are three things. First, we see that we interact with design every minute of every day. When you go to vote, you interact with design. When you go to open the door, you interact with design. When you go to write, you interact with design. And those interactions have implications. You can vote for the wrong president. You might not be able to evacuate from the plane, or maybe you wouldn't realize it. You just became suddenly a lonely 70-something year old. And that leads me to something that I'm pretty convinced in. That means that quality of life depends on the quality of our design. And if this relationship is true, that means that design is not a luxury. It's not when we say, oh, I have a designer product. That shouldn't mean Gucci bag, which Gucci bags are great, but it should mean $10 fountain pen, $1 ballpoint pen, or a ballot. That is a designer product, something that is meant to make our lives healthier and easier. And we need to demand this thing, because in the end, living healthy and happy is a human right. So we need to demand, but to demand something, you first need to understand it. You need to understand how it affects you. And design and the built environment are almost invisible because they're so ubiquitous. So we think we understand, but we don't. We are just like passive users, me included, everybody. This is just too big of a thing that you're surrounded with. And so how do we understand it? And I have a really favorite quote from Confucius, who said that I see and I remember, but I do and I understand. And I think before you did something, you can never fully understand. And we don't have the opportunity or the luxury to do design because we're busy to provide for our families or to do that or to go to school. So we are put into a position that we have to be passive consumers, otherwise we wouldn't sleep. So today's workshop is about that. Let's steal like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and try to think about what is it to design something. Let's try to understand the things that we are using. And that is why I think it's important to think like designers, because it's obviously a profound thing that design is around us and impacts us. But if we don't try to think a little bit like the people who are designing those things, we'll never understand them. And finally, I want to leave you with something. Don't trust me what I'm saying. This, of course, everything is a personal take, but I always try to base whatever I'm trying to preach on something. And here I would recommend to you a couple of books that if you really have interest in design and you have like a Sunday, just pick one of them and try it out. All of them are not meant only for designers. I like books that are meant for people to understand. I don't like reading just designer literature. It's just, I don't even understand it. Our jargon is weird. So those books are kind of an introduction into those concepts that I was talking about. And I think it's a really interesting way of looking at life after you have read them. Or if you want to talk more, please find me down at the Instagram or LinkedIn or something. And I'm always happy to have a discussion and to find time to think about design and talk about design. Just ask my wife. She just is already super tired of that. We cannot walk on the street without me commenting on something. So maybe it's good if we just talk. And that's the talk, today's talk. From now, I don't know how many minutes are we in our workshop. Maybe we still have time. I imagine our practical exercise in two parts. Around 20 minutes, where you guys can just brainstorm, think about ideas, and just have some proposal of a design. And then around 40 minutes, where we can discuss one-on-one or with everybody, just to see how is it to design stuff. But of course, design, as I showed, it works in many stages. So like to design something, it takes like 1 year. We obviously don't have this time. Design is something that we make with our hands, and online, of course, those things are not possible. So I would like to focus on 2 of the 5 steps, which I think actually are the most important. First, let's try to learn to define the problem. And second, let's try to freely brainstorm without any judgment. This is not a test. It's about just finding something new, interesting, and weird. And I created a small assignment. Don't worry, later I'm going to leave it on the screen so you guys can see it while you're thinking. My scenario was the following. Imagine that we are all a design team, and we are tasked to design something very simple, a mug for children. Very simple, right? There's most probably only one design idea. And the point is for you guys to think, how would you approach this design? How would you approach designing just a mug? And there are, I think, 3 important considerations to think while you are trying to brainstorm this design. First, what do you think is important when you're designing for children? Second, what kind of problems are you interested in solving? And third, what do you think is the impact of your design? Now, if we just leave it here, perhaps some of you who might not have design background could feel worried that this is some kind of test, and then we are going to now grade you or something. That is not the case. It doesn't matter what you come up with. The important thing is for us to have fun and to try to understand better how products are made. Let me just give you a very simple example from my experience, how once we are asked to design a glass. This is a rice wine glass. Rice wine is, or known as sake in Japan. It's a very mild and nice drink, often drunk cold. And once a rice wine producer asked us to make a small bar for them. But we thought, actually, rice wine is an experience with people, and the point is the drinking. So we told the guy, we're going to make your interior, but that's not important. Let's design your glasses. Let's make the architecture this experience of drinking wine. And in the beginning, it's just a glass, right? Like you make it and you pour stuff in it. But when we started thinking, I think we were really influenced by those ideas that Don Norman was suggesting. Like how to make something viscerally appealing, how to make some people enjoy it more when they see it, how to make it functional, and also how to create good memories with this product. How do you create a good memories with a glass, right? So we decided to make it glowing. And we decided to turn off all the lights in the bar. And the focus became really their product. So people were very excited to see glowing glasses floating around. And that really made them want to see what kind of rice wine they're selling. At the same time, we had to think about ergonomics. Like, how does the material feel? Is it too big, for instance, for a female hand, for a male hand? And at the same time, we were thinking, we want people to go out of this bar and to remember this experience. And we were thinking also, that also is good for our client, because this good experience will translate to their brand. So when we made it glow, we made it glow blue, because that is the brand color. But at the same time, blue is a color that signifies cold. So when people are drinking this refreshing cold rice wine, they feel even further this refreshment because they associate the color with the emotion. So you see, this is a very simple project, a glass, but it can convey so much to the users. And perhaps the project that you're doing today can have even more impact to the people who are using. And that's all from me. Prerna, how do you think we are doing with the time? So we can decide how we're going to allocate our next sections.
Okay.
Maybe Prerna has some
Hello.
mic. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we still have another hour, and so we do have this workshop planned, right? So do you want to, Svetlin, go ahead? Like we can break the group into 2 groups, and we can even do breakout rooms, and yeah, and we can have people actually do the design. We can give like, let's take a quick 5 minutes break every week. Right? You want to get up, go get some water for yourself, and also bring a paper and pencil or pen, a few things that you want to use for your, write down your notes and also to make your design. And in the meantime, I'm going to club people, and then we'll just break out into 2 rooms. You tell us, Svetlin, how much time should we take for the breakout session, and then we reconvene, and then everyone can share their the groups can give a presentation of a sort of their design and what they thought through.
Yeah, we have 13 people, I think, here.
So that is excluding you and I.
Yes.
So 11. So group of 5, and one group will have 5 people, and one will have 6 people.
Okay, we can do it like that. I think that's a good idea. 5 is not too big of a group. Yes, great. Okay. So let's do it like that. And I think, guys, it doesn't need to be like any finished design or anything. It can be even some like notes that you like bullet points that you wrote down and you just want to articulate. So I think around 20 minutes maybe for the group work, or 25 or 30.
No, I think 15 to 20 minutes should be good, Svetlin. 20 minutes. Okay, and then we'll reconvene and discuss. So both groups can give their own presentation of a sort, and in the sense that if you can pull your slide back of the problem, and also in that, I think you have 2 things highlighted, that we want to focus on problem, defining the problem, and the second one is the ideation, I think.
Yes, 1 second.
It's your slide number 52.
I am going to. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I was planning to just leave it on. Yes. The important thing is first to define what kind of problem are we solving, and the second one is based on this problem, what kind of ideas can we entertain. You can have more than 1 idea, you can have 10 ideas, anything is okay. And when we are discussing, it's good to have in mind the 3 questions below, so we can also keep the discussion structured, and we can kind of go back and forth between topics.
Yeah, so keeping the focus on specifically in these 3 topics, 3 problems in the bullet points as mentioned by Svetlin in the presentation. And you and I, Svetlin, we'll work as moderators between the groups, in another group, so we can help keep the group.
Hello. Maybe Prerna has. Hello, guys. Do you hear me?
Breakouts. Just to make it interactive, I just want everybody to raise their hands, which also says the agreement that they are interested in joining this this activity now. So if everyone can raise their hands that they are joining this activity. Okay. We have 4 more. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So pretty much everyone is joining. I haven't heard from Sarangi and Suraj yet. But you have 5 minutes to decide. I think everyone else is joining. So go ahead, quickly take a quick break, and we're reconvening in 5 minutes time.
Okay.
Okay, just grab a piece of paper and pen and pencil, so it's helpful during the session.
Svetlin, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Where can I get that pen?
Muji, the Japanese brand
Muji.
Muji.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
It's a great pen.
It's very pretty. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
pen, actually. Yeah.
I'm not paid to say that. I'm not paid to say that.
Hello, guys. Can we start? I'm going to put everyone in. I'm going to start the breakout rooms now. Svetlin, are you good to go?
Yes, no problem. Just let me, I'm having a bit of trouble navigating all of those monitors and okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're seeing the assignment, right?
Yes, we see the assignment. Now I'm just going to open to join the breakout rooms. So I've created 2 breakout rooms. Everyone must have got a prompt on their screen to join the breakout room. And Svetlin, you can join the group 2, the room 2, and I'll join room 1.
Yes, just heads up, when I join the breakout room, the screen sharing will be stopped. So
yeah, so I was just thinking what we can do is, can we take a print screen of this screen and put it in the chat so everyone can
yeah, okay. I'll do that. Loading to the chat now.
Okay. Cool. And I'm entering the room, and you can enter the other one.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Cool. I'll see you there.
बोल आजू बाजू की बुकिंग में 4.5 से कम है पे तो हमको भी 4.5 कम करना होगा।
Recording in progress.
जॉइंट ओपन स्पेस का कुछ है ऐसा हो सकता है कि जॉइंट ओपन स्पेस डेफिशिएंट नहीं मतलब सब ओपन
Okay. Hello, guys. So we're all back, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So I'm thinking if we're all ready, we can do like 10 minutes per group to show us their ideas, and we can discuss after every presentation with them.
Yes, I think that's perfect. So let's go with I don't remember the group names as it's 1 and 2. So let's go with
break room 1.
Room 1. Do you remember who is room 1? Guys, volunteer whoever is room 1, please come and present.
Yeah, I think Najiha was in room 1.
Yeah. Unfortunately, guys, I do have to go now. I have another appointment, but I will leave you in the good hands of my teammates. And Svetlin, I just wanted to say that was a lovely, lovely presentation. Loved it so much, and it would be nice if we can hook up. I'll probably just send you a message.
Sure, it would be great. Thank you for attending, and find me on social media and we can talk more.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much.
Have a nice
Thanks,
day.
Prerna. Thanks, bye all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.
Okay, so who in the group is presenting?
You're mute. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am just trying to share the screenshot, and from there I can explain. And there were a few other teammates. They can also.
Yeah, please everybody chime in and discuss while explaining. It's all right.
Yeah. One second. Yeah, so I have shared it. Also, I'll just share my.
Is it possible to share your screen or?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Ah, sorry, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So we discussed on the problems and the product that we are focusing on is the mug for kids who can hold the mug. They are old enough and they are in their age when we have to create a, they are not so much, they don't like drinking milk or so we have to, make sure the mug that we are using, it is appealing for that age group. There is no spillage problem. Then the weight should not be an issue. The material should not be breakable. The design should be safe. It should not have corners coming out. It should be thermally insulated in case we put in a hot beverage. And it should be easily identifiable in case we have multiple kids in the house. So multiple children. So and also easy to clean in looking at the parent point of view. So these were the things we considered, and the teammates came up with few designs. I can't explain these designs because they were made by others. I made this design. And we collectively discussed on the material that is going to be used, that is going to be bamboo. Since the weight is in check, it's non-breakable, it's thermally insulated to an extent, and also the similar properties we look for in plastic, but then plastic is plastic, so we are not using plastic. So okay, so bamboo is the material we came up with. For the spillage part, it was suggested that it can have a silicone cover, which is a soft silicone cover. And for making it appealing for the kids, it can have cartoons. It can be in the shape of cartoon, or it can have a print of cartoon. And also it will be easy for the kids to identify their own mugs if they have different cartoons associated. So I kind of made this mug, and since it is easy to hold from two hands, I made two handles, and they can act like an ear of an animal. So this can have all animal face, and it can be ear of an animal. If it's a monkey, if it's a rabbit, it can be in the shape of bunny ear. So, but it will act as a handle. And then this could be the silicone cover and a zipper up, and the shape is straight, so that it's easy to clean and easy to use. And the material is again bamboo.
And
these two designs, I am not sure who made it. Can
maybe if the author knows, maybe they can say a few words about them.
Sorry?
If the author is here, maybe they can say a few words about them.
Yeah.
I'll speak about the one which is stars and hearts. I made it a very similar consideration which Rubo just explained.
Shivangi.
Shivangi, sorry.
Yeah, I can't change my name for some reason. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so keeping the same thing in mind, of course, I'm not a designer, so I'm not a decorator. I would not use designer word here. Here, like, as you can see, like the shape is kind of like small in between as compared to the top or the bottom. Instead of having two handles, I made one because I thought like if the shape from the middle is small enough, it's easy for the kid to handle, to hold this. Also, these stars or hearts will be replaced by cartoon characters. This is what I had in mind. Rest of the things remain as it is, as like what we decided as a team. Yeah.
Thank you.
And what I added, actually, I written on paper. I am not good on screen designing. I tried to on paper. I like to. I don't know how I share.
You can
maybe you can
Okay,
share.
turn on
video.
your video.
Yeah.
Wait.
Am I?
Yeah, I can. If you, yeah, I pinned your video, so I can.
don't think I'm sharing my
clearly. Yeah. Hello. Maybe internet problems.
Is that Rajendra?
Yeah. Yes. Rajendra.
Yeah, Rajendra.
Now it's back. Now it's back.
Let me do a spotlight.
I think you have to stop sharing screen might be ahead, but I don't know if this bandwidth is not good, I think, from my side.
Yes, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Shivangi, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also not able to put Rajendra on spotlight because.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No worries. Yeah.
Problem.
Where is Rajendra?
Yeah, I think it's back now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So these are the cup I drawn. That's not good, I think. But I took 4 different scenarios which we discussed. So one with a bigger cup with flower print, one with the I think peacock symbol, and one is the 2-side handling. So you can grab the cup mug,
yes.
2-side. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is one thing. And yeah, this also one, the smiley face. Yeah. So these are 4 things I come with in my design, considering all the points which we have shared earlier on the screen, lightweight and everything, wooden and printing on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It.
Thank you. It's always good to have options.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I think there was one more design on the on the top left, maybe.
That was made by Najiha.
I see. I see. So I guess it would be similar considerations. Added maybe a name, a written name.
Yeah, I think she's written a name, whichever child's name, and whoever it belongs to, they can write them.
So I think let's Svetlin,
okay.
Let's move to the group 2 because as
Yes.
such we only have 10 minutes left now because we like
Yes.
to also discuss after the
Yes, of course. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Over to group 2.
Prerna, I'll just start us off, group 2, and then I think we'll all jump in and kind of explain what's happening with the design. Do you think that's okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of something on the chat. That was the information that we have about what we created. Suraj, do you think you can help us out with by sharing your screen? Is that okay? Suraj?
Yeah,
okay. Thanks so much. So our group was Suraj, Tanishka, Surendra, Vivian, and myself. And the moment we have it on the screen, we'll be able to see it a little bit better. But to keep it brief, the product features for us were the material was silicone plastic, which we believe is friendlier than regular plastic and also is more bearable, more tolerant of heat and cold. The age group we chose was ages between 5 and 8. And sorry, just give me one. Hi, so sorry, someone was in the next room. Then what we have for you is that we have 2 holdings like a sippy cup. We designed and curated this entire project completely as a group. Then we have thin handles that we consider ergonomic, and they are designed specifically for a child's small hands. There is a lid and a nozzle to make it super easy to use. The cup in itself is unisex, and there is a very fun special sound effect that when you put the cup down, as suggested by Tanishka, that when you put the cup down on a table, there is going to be much like a shoe that children often tend to wear, where there's a quack, quack, squeak, squeak, squeak. So something like that. It's useless, but it is fascinating. And to a child's curiosity, it most likely would help them indulge being a bit more inquisitive in a natural world. Then we use Doraemon due to its child-friendly content. We put a special place at the bottom, right in the middle, for them to mark their name with a pencil or a marker. The colors were chosen to keep in mind visibility and attractiveness of the sippy cup itself. Special features include personalized space to use a marker and write the name, a bottom gripper that creates also very importantly a suction, thus avoiding spillage, and also makes the sound to encourage a child to drink. The problem very specifically that we addressed was the unique design of the mug, creating a fresh experience of drinking. So it's not like something that you've necessarily used before. So it's exciting for a child. But other problems that I think we identified were quantity of liquid, spillage, use of different materials, a personalized experience, and attentiveness to a child's psychology. And Suraj did the graphics digitally. That's just the brief from our side. And I feel like my teammates definitely want to jump in and give you more insight into what we've accomplished here.
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Suraj, Tanishka, Surendra, Vivian.
Yes.
So Suraj did the graphics. Tanishka came up with that amazing idea about making the bottom with a special sound. Surendra was the mediator for all of us. I think he gave us a special advice about the material, about the gripper, especially at the bottom. Vivian, I believe, helped us with the handles by making them. We initially had like a very simple U-shaped handle, which we then later turned into something that would help grip the fingers more effectively. So that was great. And then we did the colors together. And the Doraemon, I think Suraj picked.
Yes.
So that would be us.
Guys, both of the teams, you took the challenge really seriously. I'm really impressed and happy to see your results. Can we maybe stop sharing the screen so we can see our faces while we are discussing, and then if needed we can perhaps bring back. I actually think that you addressed all of the points really in detail. So this makes my job really easy. I can just say like, good job, and then we can wrap it up. However, I was really fascinated by two things. I mean, I noticed that in such an extensive way you're thinking about ergonomics and how children would use the mug, which I think is just great. You really need to, right? You need to put the user in the center of the experience. And well, I was not surprised that you guys put ergonomics in the center, because when we think about designing products, well, ergonomics is what you think about, right? You want things to be useful. But what I'm so happy to see is that you actually thought about the more intangible experience of the child. Now, both teams thought how the mug could become attractive to the child. So you tried, and I think succeeded in a way, to speak the child's language. I saw that you really focused on things that the child would understand. Of course, cartoon characters were something very ubiquitous, but something very interesting was, for instance, how I think group one made a version of the mug with a smiley face. And then the smiley face was on a mug with two handles, which actually created a whole head. And I find this really fascinating, because we actually are wired to recognize faces. So the child would definitely be drawn to such a design. Without even have ever seen a smiley face, it would be able to, the child would be able to, sorry, I'm wearing it. This is my Bulgarian accent. In Bulgarian, it's a different gender. So the child, he or she, would definitely realize what this is and would definitely pick their interest. And what group 2 really added, that really interested me, was the addition of the squeaky sound thing. So that was great because I think you referred to it as being Tamanna referred to it as being useless, which I enjoy a lot, because we should think about adding useless things to the designs. Making it more fun and more engaging actually really creates a memorable experience. So really, you guys really make my job very easy. I just wanted to ask both groups a question, which I think you actually tackled with your designs, but perhaps you haven't verbalized yet, or even among each other. How do you imagine that those products would create meaningful attachment with the child? So you can do it like first group 1, then group 2. What do you think, what property of your design do you think makes a lasting impression that the child will feel attachment, and then when they think about, I'm going to drink something, in their image is going to be this mug? You can do it group 1 and group 2 in order.
Well, I think the animals in the picture or the design, they kind of make an impact to the kids, like whatever they are drinking, that is being, served in a very cute cup. So that can be something memorable, that I had a cup in my, when I was a child, which had, 2 ears, 2 big ears, and I used to hold that cup and have my milk, and yeah, that could be a memorable experience for the kids.
That was amazing for both teams. Both teams actually suggested this thing, which I think is great, because first, it makes it easy for the child to drink because it might be heavy. And second, it adds the character already. Like the design already suggests something, even if there is no face, like on the group 2's design, it already suggests the human shape, so you can be drawn to it. That was really nice. Yeah, thank you. Any other opinions? That could be from other members of the team.
Yeah, please.
If they're feeling.
I feel it's like the thing like mug which I have in childhood should be in present. If I look at back, like for a small kid for 8 years, if he want to see my 5-year-old cup which I'm drinking, it's like seem nice and how attractive it was. It's like memories, that's earlier my team member. So it had to be bond with the memory, and like this was my mug, and I like to drink with mug. I used to be like to drink with mug. So this animation, this smiley face, and how it's sold, how is quality. That's is bamboo. Bamboo we can keep long lasting, and we can make it as a showcase. It was my cup. So this like bamboo, yeah. So this is how we thought is bamboo is like we can keep it in our focus. It's lightweight, and even if you drop it out, it will not break easily. Yeah.
Bamboo, I think, was a great choice because it also ages as it's being used. So it really makes it your cup, right? Like when things age in your home. That's my mug, and it is made in such a way that it becomes dirtier as you use it. And I love it because that means it's my dirt. So that's my mug. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Maybe Priyanka can join in. Priyanka was part of it.
I think you both summed up summed it up pretty well. Goes with the same, like having two handles or a shape which has some character added to it, which will make the person attached to what they are holding. In general, characters is what we get attached to when we watch movies or we read stories. So probably I think that that's the biggest thing which I would have to say here, which will make an article memorable for the user.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. Yeah, I agree completely. Thank you very much. Anybody else from group 1? Or if not, we will move to group 2.
Also,
hello?
Hello?
Yes, yes. Hello?
I designed earlier because of bad internet connection, but in my design I had added a straw, so I think in the silicone cup only attached to the silicone cover, sorry. So I think that would be a very nice thing for kids because I as a kid love straws. So I think having that would resonate with the kids and would make them think like, yeah, I had this special cup that had a straw in the lid. And I also, while designing, I also added a small strip of maybe we could add something that is clear so that the kids can see how much of the liquid is left inside the cup, which I think would make them very happy. So if they like the drink, there could be like, yeah, I have this much drink in the cup and I can enjoy it very a lot of the drink. And if they did not like the drink, then they could see it decreasing as they drink. And okay, I only have this much to drink, so I can do it. So I think that would be a very nice thing for kids as well.
That is a great input. It's not when we create nice memories, it's really like that. It's not only what we see, but also kind of our achievements, right? And not only it's fun to drink with a straw, but at the same time, what you were saying, that like the liquid is going down as they drink more. In a way, it's like, oh, I did it. I drank my stuff. Like there is some sort of feeling of like happiness every time you finish your drink. So I think that's a very interesting way of approaching attachment. Thank you. And who's next? Group 1 still or group 2?
Group 1 is done. We have covered all the members.
Okay, so group 2 then. Who's first?
Interrupt me anytime. I'm just going to add what I thought was the most memorable part for the child, directly attractive to the child. That, in my opinion, would be the personalized name, because one, they can add it themselves using a permanent marker. Then the second thing, in my opinion, would be the ease in use, because the handles were ergonomic and the bottom was anti-spillage. And finally, of course, a conditioning to the sound of the mug itself, because I think that would be really exciting. Like you mentioned, a child would be able to put it down. Every time they put it down, they can hear the sound. They will be able to, at some point, I feel like connect the association between a sound and the ability to be able to perhaps get a nice warm liquid, be it some type of milk, be it some type of cold coffee. I don't know. I don't remember exactly quite what children drink, but a juice or something like that, from the nozzle. Yes. So that would be great. They would definitely be able to attach that value to nutrition. And maybe the last thing I have in my mind, like we all discussed, is the Doraemon for group 1. And I think for group 2, that stands just a small personal anecdote, I think, is worth sharing. Like when I was one, I did have this one specific mug, or it was a glass of some kind. It had a giraffe on it. And I remember seeing it recently, and I have a crystal clear memory of drinking milk from that cup. So indeed, characters do, sit in a child's psychology. I myself am an example. And I feel like my teammates should jump in anytime. But that's what I think would be attractive from our piece.
No, agreed on this approach 100%. Why? Sorry, I didn't mention earlier the personalized name. Maybe it slipped my mind. But I think that's a very important detail that you added, because the child then, especially if they write their name by themselves, they become a participant in the design. So in a way, this mug becomes unique to them, and they start feeling ownership because they wrote it. It is not like printed or anything. And I think it's really important point that to introduce the idea of the user participating and taking ownership of the product. That would definitely make it more long-lasting. Thank you.
Yes,
Tamara.
exactly.
Thank you.
Second, one last question that I have before we end the session. What is your take in like a real life world for these, for a product to go in the market? Between the materials that's been chosen by the two teams, like one is bamboo and the other one is silicone plastic. So in these days, I know a lot of people are experimenting with more, nature-friendly and sustainable materials. But is this actually really a useful choice? That
If it's a nature material, if it's a
like
material.
bamboo,
The obvious thing is, well, it's a natural material. That's why it's going to biodegrade, and that we can say it's sustainable, right? That is something that we can definitely say. But some people would argue, yeah, but you're going to cut so many bamboos because they're going to, for instance, be ruined faster than a plastic mug, which maybe is going to be useful for 50 years, while a bamboo mug is going to be for 10, right? So they would say, but you cut so much bamboo to make mugs, which makes sense to some degree. But I have this weird theory, and I really have a real world example here. I'm gonna show my mug again. So this mug is made out of porcelain, but the porcelain is unvarnished, meaning that it has its rough texture, and it's gonna change over time. And you can say, for instance, why would I buy this mug? Because it's going to just get ruined. And if I buy a plastic mug, it's going to be pristine, and I'm going to keep it for a long time. I would argue, though, that a product that ages with you and you have actual impact on its aging becomes more dear to you than something that is always pristine and is never going to age. So I would argue that actually products like, for instance, bamboo, a natural material which is not as tough as plastic, when it's used in product design, could have the potential to last longer simply because people are more attached to it. So I have this idea that if we can create strong attachment to things, they're more sustainable because you use them for longer time. And that's why I always think that it's really important to try and use natural materials, not only because they're sustainable in the conventional way, but also because natural materials, because they're natural, like people, they are meant to age. And I think we really have this association with old-looking things being valuable, because that's what we see all the time. Your grandma's clock, your grandma's couch, this, that. And I think that nowadays, when we say this is not sustainable because it doesn't last, but plastic is sustainable because it's going to last, we're actually missing the point. We're not creating like personal sustainability, and we're just thinking in technical terms. So I would encourage people to use more natural materials, even if they think that they seem less durable.
That's brilliant, Svetlin. Thank you so much for that insight. That really is absolutely amazing. I agree 100%, I feel like.
Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure working with you, discussing with you. I was totally surprised how seriously you took it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Svetlin, to you for taking out time this afternoon for all of us.
Oh, no, it was a pleasure.
So yeah, it's a great learning, and thank you, everyone. We are going to end the session now. I will also upload the recording of the presentation from Svetlin on YouTube, and we'll share the link, so you guys can always go back and watch it. We do have the Art Circle channel that you can check on YouTube. And you can join our WhatsApp chat group, so you stay in touch with us.
Thanks, Prerna.
Yeah, thanks, Nan. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.